Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Korn Part 2.
It's Korn!
Cranked and Ranked is the name of the show. I'm assuming if this is Korn Part 2, so if you happen to be new, you probably watched Korn Part 1, so we don't really need to go into like who we are. But we're a ranking podcast and video show, and that's all I need to know. We're smack dab in the middle of ranking Korn's full-length album discography. And maybe we shouldn't fuck around this time. I don't know. Old head, that's me. With me as always, Eddie Sparxx.
Yo, we're hopping out of the Korn-hole and into the love zone today.
Yep. And for the video world, in case you're keeping track, I stayed indoors all weekend, and once again, Eddie went out into the sun and got more tan. I think I've pretty much just decided this is going to be my cranked and ranked wardrobe now, because
I'm still working on that gnarly cutoff, but it's getting better. It's improving. Some days at the beach, taking full advantage.
I mean, in July, my family we're supposed to be going to a local amusement park that's like right on the ocean.
Oh right.
And so I'm gonna be wearing this. And special for the occasion, I ordered myself an old head fanny pack because I sell those over on my store. So I was like, oh, I need a fanny pack because I don't want to carry around like all the shit in my pockets. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna get or a bum bag, as they say over there,
or a front bum bag.
Yeah, because essentially what I'm calling it is like a cunt bag, right?
A cunt sack. So many new insults that we've created in the last 5 seconds.
but that being said, the episode we do after that, I will probably be a slightly darker shade of white, because I think even when I go out into the sun, if I put on sunscreen, I don't seem to get like a nice tan. I'm just like red, and then it goes back to white. That's all it is.
You're gonna go from ice white to a beige.
I would love to be a beige, really, but Anyway, blinding people with my arms again on the video side of things, but yeah, we've got 7 Korn albums to talk about, and last time, once we got into the top 10, I was just like, yeah, we're already in like banger albums for me, so top 7 even more so. I really had to pick at things to come up with reasons that one album wasn't that good and went lower. So it was really, especially the top like 5, I would say the top 5, I was just like, I don't really, I don't know if I'm 100% convinced that this is perfect, but it feels right now.
Yeah.
So, and thanks to everybody for watching part 1 of Korn. And welcome back. You're in the Korn-hole zone, something like that. But so what do we do now? I guess we start ranking. That's what we do, right?
Hell yeah.
So okay, we're gonna just edit all of that out, and then we'll go right to this part, and it'll seem really smooth. All right, let's start ranking.
Nice.
Number 7.
Number 7.
We'll do it live. We'll
do it live.
Fucking thing sucks. Eddie Sparxx starts us off with his number 7 Korn album.
Okay. My number 7 is The Nothing.
All right, cool. Not my number 7. We're not matching up yet.
Yeah. Like we said last time, though, we're already in banger territory.
Yeah.
This came out in 2019, I
Yep.
believe. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just dive right in. This is modern Korn coming back, hitting hard. So the end begins, absolutely designed with hyping the crowd up in mind. That's just album intro that is to be played live on that tour. You just know, like, the bagpipes and everything. It's a it's a statement of, oh shit, no
Yeah.
more Korn. And then
Have they ever opened with a song that wasn't Blind? I mean, there are probably people who are bigger Corn fans that can answer that question, but I feel like every time I've ever seen footage of a show of Corn, it's always Blind that opens the show.
you know, now I come to think about it, you can't really get a more perfect intro song, can you? That
Yeah,
it slowly builds. It's the first song from the first album, and he
It-
literally says,
or-
"Are you ready?" Like, it's
yeah.
perfectly designed.
The whole place goes ape shit every time. Doesn't matter.
Oh man, oh, and we've not even got there yet. Holy
Nope.
shit.
Nope.
So but yeah, Cold, damn dude,
Yeah.
like cornerback. And I know I've been saying that, like, with all the modern Corn as of about 2016 onward, but like, they're just continuously getting better again, you know.
Yeah.
You'll never find me, that, you know, they've got all the ingredients together, and boy, they are a cooking.
Hmm.
The darkness is revealing. I love a
I
little
like that
sassy.
one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I love a little sassy splash fill as well. Like, shh. If you're doing like hi hat work and just throwing
Yeah.
like little stacky things and whatnot, that's one of the many little elements of flair that just adds so much. But you know,
That's what happens when you get a fucking badass drummer,
oh, absolutely,
which
and a
they have
badass
had
drum
too.
kit.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's fucking incredible. Their rhythm section has always been spot on.
mhm.
Idiosyncrasy, holy shit, the riff. One of those, how has this not been written before? And I wish I'd wrote it moments where it's like,
There are
yeah,
some, because I guess because I've always struggled so much with lyric writing that I really love it, like the chorus of Idiosyncrasy. I
yeah,
love that he fit the way that he fit the title of the song in that with the "fucked with me idiosyncrasy." Like
yeah,
the first time I heard that, I was like, "Oh, that's fucking great!" Because
yeah,
I'm just like, that's the kind of shit that, like, you know, I wish I could come up with things like that, but I'm just like, no. I would be like, how do I fit this in? Such a long word. Where does it go?
yeah.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, holy shit. Seduction of the sorry, the seduction of indulgence. It's a weird little interlude-ish kind of track.
Yeah.
Um, Finally free. Some cool melodic qualities to this one. Can you hear me? There should be a question mark, but I'll let that slide. The Ringmaster has a cool, weird feel to it. Gravity of Discomfort. There's some cool hooks in that one. Harder, or should I say, at symbol, rud 3 I mean, goddamn, that fucking riff though, dude. But This Loss is a melodic Korn song. Surrender to Failure is a movie trailer style Korn outro song. I mean, these guys are cooking with fire late in the game.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
this is into their, like, kind of third act sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, possibly even fourth. I mean, damn, to be this far into your career and able to, like, swing back around and go, yep, we're the best at doing this, and suck it,
You
I guess.
on it
You
on
know?
it honestly, I'd say you're hard pressed to find a band as old as them still doing music that sounds as fresh as theirs does. Because, like,
Yes.
there's a small handful of bands that still do that. You know, and that's crazy to me.
There's bands from 10 years ago that don't sound nearly as fresh as Korn does.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, this, I went through a phase in my life where, like, the last thing I wanted to hear was new metal, but that was just because I've been battered over the head with Kerrang only playing new metal, metalcore, and pop punk just all the time.
Yeah.
I eventually gave up on those channels because there was no variety anymore. See, that's what I liked about, Kerrang and Scuzz back when I first became like a rock fan, was the fact that they would have something different every hour, and then it
Yeah.
just became like a 24-hour emo live stream, and it was like,
I don't know why they channels do that, because that's essentially what happened with MTV over here,
mhm,
because they started to realize they're like, oh well, instead of like having programming for smaller audiences, let's just extend and play the same shit over and over again that gets the most biggest audience. And I'm just like, well,
yeah,
then it just makes your channel completely ununique, and nobody really cares. Like MTV went from being something that people like me of my generation,
yeah,
if you were at home and watching television, chances are 99% of the time MTV was on, no matter what was on MTV.
yeah,
Because you're like, oh, it's time for the grind where you watch people dance for 30 minutes. But right after that, it's going to be MTV News. And you'll watch the music news. After that, it's going to be the top 20 or whatever the fuck it's going to be. But you would just be, you'd be, but that was always on,
yeah,
for many, many years, well into the 90s, MTV was always on. But now I guarantee you there's nobody that has that kind of relationship with MTV. It's just
yeah.
like, even if they
Unless
do
you,
still watch it, it's just like, oh yeah, that's just kind of amusing. But there's
yeah,
no like devotion to this channel like there used to be.
yeah, like that's something I do find myself envious of, like your generation having such a thing that everybody can kind of rally around, you know,
Yeah.
regardless of like genre or what you were into. It was the variety and the just like how everything was, and just how cool pop culture was back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
It's just it really is, like it's almost otherworldly at this point in time to
Yeah.
think that there was a time like that.
I mean, it's gotten to the point now where I even have a little bit of nostalgia for the late '90s, early 2000s MTV,
Yeah,
which I didn't watch near as much, but I watched it sometimes. But that was when, like, there was like this show called TRL, which is like Total Request
Total
Live,
Request Live.
and they it's they played a lot of stuff I did not want to listen to at the time that I like
Yeah,
more now. But that was around the time, like, the Osbournes and stuff like that. and
yeah.
um
When
and
reality TV started to creep in a bit more.
yeah, yeah. But even then, like, I still watched it a lot, and I still look at that and go, well, at least at that point there was still a variety of things, and there were still shows that played music,
Hmm.
not as much, but they were still there. But man, but yeah, I mean, so that would have been, the millennials. Millennials have that as well, because I'm tail end of Gen X.
Yeah,
Like, the last couple years of Gen X is, I was born in '78, so like I'm considered at the end, which is probably why, like, I get along with my wife so well, because she's like an early millennial and I'm a late Gen Xer, and we kind of, overlap in certain
meet in the
ways.
middle. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, so, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's hard to explain to anyone that wasn't there. And to be honest, whoever the older generation, because when the people that watched MTV when it first started in the '80s, which I watched it a little bit when I was a kid, but by the early '90s, those people were like, MTV sucks now. And then by the late '90s, we were all like, MTV sucks now. And so, but some new generation had moved in, and they're just like, this is the shit I watch all the time. And it's like, that was probably the first wake up call once I was in my 20s of like, oh, I get how this works now. A
yeah,
lot of people get older and they become the thing they didn't want to become. And
yeah.
I think I haven't become that. You definitely haven't become that.
Nah,
Um,
nah. I'm too stubborn to allow myself to become the dad from the Twisted Sister video.
I think you also are like me, and you just allow yourself to enjoy what you enjoy, as opposed to thinking
Yeah,
too much about it, about what's appropriate, what's supposed to be good and what's not supposed to be good. It's just like,
yeah,
does it feel good to me or not? Come on.
yeah. Exactly. I wish that didn't apply to other aspects of my life though, because it's like sometimes, like, what is it? I'll be able to tell you what year an album came out, but I can't tell you what I had for fucking breakfast this morning.
Oh,
It's
I've
like sometimes I think to myself, have I really just stuffed my head with so much music knowledge that I am physically incapable of fitting anything else in there?
I
You
mean,
know?
I've resigned to the fact that like I can tell you facts about music that isn't even some of my favorite music. I just retained all these facts, but I constantly, while cooking, have to ask Alexa how many teaspoons are in a cup or whatever,
Yeah,
because I don't fucking know, and
yeah.
that information will not attach itself to my brain.
Yeah, no, I'm
So
the same. Yeah, I'm all over the fucking place, like in pretty much every other facet of my life. This is the only thing that has any semblance of structure to it. The rest is
yeah,
just fucking chaos. Yeah.
well,
At
at
least at
least
least I have control over my notes and my
yeah,
digital audio workstation and this Skype call. But Zoom call. Yeah,
Zoom.
we graduated. We graduated from Skype.
Oh yeah,
Remember
we
the
did
Skype?
start. We started on
Yeah.
Skype.
Yeah, you remember the Skype days when I had that fucking lapel mic that I would
Yep,
like clip to my shirt,
yep.
and I'd sit cross-legged on my bed with a laptop sat in front of me. That started to give me back pain after a while. Thank God I have the setup I have now.
And
Like,
look at us now. Who would have
yeah,
thought?
yeah, yeah.
Not me. Um, are you done with the Nothing?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling now.
I love that album. As you see, I got it behind me here. The
Nice.
cool thing about the ones I have behind me is that Follow the Leader and Issues are both originals from the 90s. These are
Nice.
98, 99 pressings of those records.
How much do
Um,
they go for? How much do they cost?
Well, these were these a lot of the things like this that I end up finding. It's because I just camp out on Discogs with them in my want list, and eventually
Right.
there's going to be that person that inherited some records or is moving and is just trying to get rid of them. So I'm pretty sure Follow the Leader I paid $60 for, and it's pretty
Wow.
damn good shape. And I think Issues may have been 50. Um, but they're both, they're a little worn because they're from the 90s or whatever, but like they're, the actual vinyl is perfectly good shape. And it's got all the
Yeah.
shit. So anyway, but
Also, before if anybody is paying attention to this shelf over here,
I
with
can
a
never really see what's on it.
yeah, it's I've actually removed all of my vinyl from it because it's now in another place on
Oh,
a on an IKEA Kallax unit. And
nice.
it looks very nice, and I will send you a photo of that
Cool.
because I've been meaning to get one of those behind you for quite some time.
Because Eddie Sparks has his own place now. He can go
Yeah,
to he can go to a movie on a school night like that.
like that. uh, Also,
uh,
this year I finally got pubes.
All right, well, let's move on to my number seven, which is closely related to yours because it's the most recent album, Requiem from
Cool.
2022. Their 14th album. And this album was in my top 10 of 2022 because I think it's fucking
Beautiful.
great. Really moving from the Nothing to Requiem for me, it seemed like a kind of more refined version that's a little bit less aggressive and more melodic and shorter because
Mm.
Requiem is only 32 minutes long. Um, but really, I can say this about the Nothing also, but with Requiem, there's so many memorable songs on it, and there's a handful of songs that I'm like, this literally sounds like if this had come out in like 2000 2001, this would have been a massive hit
Yeah.
on MTV or whatever. And that's just amazing to me because it does sound like a more mature Korn, but at the
Mm.
same time, they're still making music that stands up with this like classic, genre defying music or defining and defying shit. They did both. Defined a subgenre and defied genres in general.
Well,
Um,
I'll tell you what. My number 6 is Requiem, so we can camp out here in Requiem zone.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to add. I just think that the songwriting here is really good. Jonathan Davis's vocal performances and the vocal melodies and everything are just so good on this that they just. That's why, like, some people were like, "Well, 32 minutes is pretty short for an album." I'm like, yeah, but when it's literally 32 minutes of just fucking great shit that you want to just play again, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
perfect. And they could do 32-minute albums every couple years, and I would be absolutely fucking fine with that. And we already said it before. No
Yeah.
band of their era or that has been around this long has been putting out music of this caliber. So Requiem's amazing. Let's throw it over to you for Requiem.
Well, I'm just going to hop straight off of what you said. I've said it before, and I'll say it 1,000 times more. I'd rather have a short album and want to listen to it twice than a bloated mess with 2 or 3 bangers on it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. File that shit down to a fine point and have something that sticks,
Now I did now I'm meeting in the middle because there are some bands that have now been saying stuff like, "Oh, we're probably just going to start putting out songs," and I'm like, "Oh no, don't do
Yeah,
that." Because
yeah, yeah,
that's going too far. Because there are those of us that still want to collect and still want to have it, and so at least put out an EP. Don't
yeah.
just throw out a song. I mean, that's come on.
That's weak sauce. Come on.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a difference between refining and copping out, and
yeah,
it's like, I mean, sure, if you want to do a one-off single, like because you're busy touring, but you want to put something cool out, by all means do it. It's what movie soundtracks are for.
but
But
that EP better be coming later
yeah,
with that song on
exactly.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like the fucking Slipknot album, "We Are Not Your Kind," right? It didn't have what I thought was the best song from those sessions, which was it's got a different name, but it's got the line "We Are Not Your Kind" in it, and
Yeah,
it's only the special edition that has it on there, and I'm like, you can't do that.
that's
That's not fraud. I would call
yeah.
that false advertising.
We've talked about that before too. Like
Yeah.
enough with the fucking special editions. Like release the edition you want the first time.
Yeah.
It's like if you gotta go back, no, you don't get to do that again. Let's put something else out if you want to
Yeah.
like add more songs or add something else because like real fans are gonna buy it,
Yeah.
But I'm more likely to buy it, especially if you're a band that like I like, but I'm not like obsessed with. If you put out an album and I like the album and then you put out an EP of some leftover stuff, I'll probably buy that too. But if
Yeah.
you put out a special edition of the same ass shit with 2 extra songs, no, not getting my money. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, let's dive into the track list
Yep.
of Requiem. So Forgotten, Korn have stripped things right back to basics and are fucking crushing it on this
Mhm.
album. Let the Dark Do the Rest is a moody banger. Start the Healing. Said it before. Love some cheeky cymbal fill shit, like little
Mhm.
stacks and splashes, bells, all over that. Lost in the Grandeur has some like real Tom Morello vibes in the riffage. That
Yeah.
like love that.
Yeah.
Disconnect, Korn doing modern Korn very nicely. Hopeless and Beaten is heavy as fuck. Like
Yeah, that's a great one.
there's a real doomy edge to that one, and I'm like, oh damn. Penance to Sorrow, it's a cool song. My Confession. See, that's the thing with every song on this album doesn't outstay its welcome. Everything does what
Yeah.
it needs to do and then bounces out. Makes for a far more enjoyable experience. Worst is on its way is an ass-kicking closer with some killer Davis scat goodness on it. This album is a clear example of less can be more. This
Yeah.
album to me is up there with their classics. Um, I was genuinely amazed. Like when you recommended it to me like last year, we were talking and you said, "Have you heard the new Korn? It's fucking amazing and it's only 32 minutes long." And I was like,
Yeah.
Korn did
Yeah.
32 minutes. It's like because they are of an era. They are of an era where doing a short album was not part of the equation. You maxed out that CD runtime with whatever
Oh,
you had,
and
even
if
if it
you,
was like. Even if it was like 30 minutes of silence and then just
yeah,
a random bonus track at the end, you maxed that fucker out.
yeah. I don't miss that. Then you know what I do miss from the CD days that can't really be replicated very well is the negative seconds on
Yeah.
CDs, because there were so many albums that would like have hidden things that there's some I'm trying to there's one that comes to mind. I think it was an album by Sponge that the very first track you would play it and it would play the first song, but if you knew about it, you used to push play and then rewind and it goes backwards through an entire other track before the first track. And I was
No way.
yeah, and I was always just like, that's fucking so cool. But
Damn.
that's of the CD era. You can't really I don't know how you would do that in the, stripped down ones and zeros of streaming or whatever.
Yeah, it's physical media, man. You can't beat it. You can't beat owning a tangible item, you know?
Hell yeah,
Because
I don't know why people don't fuck with that shit more, even on vinyl. Because
yeah.
I think I've mentioned it before in an old episode that I have a Monty Python vinyl that depending on where you place the needle, it plays a completely different thing on one of the sides.
Wow.
Because there's two separate groove entries and they're side by side. So you could and there's nothing that explains that on the record. So it was one of those things where you could just play it another time and be like, wait, this is totally different than what I heard last time. And it is
Yeah.
because it's two different things. Yeah.
Wow. See, it's genius stuff like that, you know? You don't get that anymore. You don't get that on a phone.
No, yeah.
Like,
There's a my,
you
my
know?
wife has a my wife has a Jack White vinyl that plays from the
Yeah.
inside out.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's
I
got other
have
little hidden things in it too, but yeah.
I have heard, things like that, but that's really cool. So
Yeah.
if you like if you tried to play it from the outside, would it play backwards?
No, it just doesn't go anywhere because that's
Ah, okay.
the beginning of it is the end run out. So you just put it
Ah,
there,
I
and it's
see.
like putting it at the end of a record, which is like it doesn't do anything.
Oh yeah, so it goes the other way, kind
So
of.
it spins in the same direction, but it was pressed to where
To
everything it
to
leads in and goes the other way. So you're like, so it's playing. I guess it's technically playing it backwards, but the music was pressed backwards also. Fuck, I don't know. This blows my mind.
Yeah.
I still fucking watch, like on TikTok that there's a lot of things that I get where it's just watching records pressed, and I've seen it hundreds of times, and I'm still just like, oh, it's so cool, so cool
Yeah.
to make the little swirlies. I love it. Put the stuff
Yeah.
together, and I love it.
I'm
It
like
never
that
gets
with
old.
I'm like that with watching symbols get made. If anybody wants to
Oh,
watch if anybody wants to watch some satisfying stuff, pause this episode and go on YouTube and look up like how it's made symbols, and it's like a dude with a lathe and this like unrecognizable slab of the ugliest looking metal you have ever seen, that the moment he takes this like thing to it, it immediately shines and it like goes outward in a circle, and it's super satisfying to watch, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
So yeah, Requiem in my opinion is arguably the arguably the best body of work since their 90s era,
yeah,
or at least up there, you know.
yeah. I like that one a lot, but like I have six others that I like more. Um, so my number six is "See You on the Other Side" from 2005,
Cool.
and their seventh
Twisted
album.
transistor.
I,
Sorry, I
I
couldn't
that's a
resist.
really I love that is how the album kicks off because it's such a like different way of it's a different song for them at the time,
Yeah.
and it's the album overall is such a huge improvement in quality from Take a Look in the Mirror, which was my last place one.
Hmm.
But then you play them back to back, and it's very clear that you see you on the other side. Oh man, the production's better, the songwriting is better. And it's weird because it's the first one after Head left. but they sound like a reinvigorated band, almost like him leaving there like, fuck that, we're gonna put all our effort into doing this fucking record. And
Yeah.
overall, it's just an interesting, well written album with really enjoyable songs. And I like the fact that it sounds like they've pushed things forward and they're experimenting with stuff, but it still has that Korn core sound, in the middle
Yeah.
of everything. Same thing with like, Path of Totality. Like it still sounds like a Korn record.
It's on a decent cob is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like hearing a band evolving and having fun experimenting and tweaking their sound. Even when it's not successful, it's still enjoyable to me. But this is one of those cases where I think it is successful. Um, but I think that it's a really enjoyable chapter of their career. That this whole period is so interesting to me, just because they have these what I consider big missteps in their catalog, sprinkled in with these other albums where I'm like, oh, that's some bangers, that they nailed that. And so
Hmm.
it may I think this one would be disappointing, obviously, to people that want stuff to sound like their first two albums, but I don't know. It's really hard to deny the quality of this album. And a really interesting thing about See You on the Other Side, it's a very long album, but I don't know a song that I would cut from it. In fact, some of my favorite songs are from the second half of the album. And I'm like, well, that's pretty fucking amazing. So, yeah, I think See You on the Other Side is, when it comes to the early 2000s of Korn, I really think that this is the one where they kind of nailed everything. And I think
Hmm.
it is because they were met with, well, one of the founding members, that everybody knows is now gone, and we're going to try to expand things a little bit. And it just sounds like a fucking band enjoying themselves, making some really great music. So that's my number 6. See You on the Other
Cool.
Side.
Nice. If I may. Song ain't about no booty. It's about transistors. You dig?
Yep.
uh, love that. I love the video to that song.
Mm-hmm.
I know I said it last time, but I love that. Okay, so my number 5 is album number 5, Untouchables.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I know you had this one a little lower,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna kick this off by saying "Here to Stay" is possibly my favorite Korn song.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, like holy shit, to me, everything about it is perfect, especially those key changes where like the riff goes up a bit and it gets a
Mm-hmm.
bit funkier. But like the creepy major key vocals over the nastiest of riffs. Just an excellent chorus.
Mm-hmm.
What more could you want? Oh, this bendy psychotic breakdown in there as well. I mean that too, but that when I think of what Korn sounds like, I think of the intro to that going
Yeah.
like when it really kicks in. That's what I go to Korn for, you
Yeah.
know. At that song, I remember, and I'm pretty sure I remembered it from being like a kid, and my uncle, who I've mentioned several times, who is largely responsible for my music taste, alongside the Grand Theft Auto and Guitar Hero games. Um, I'm pretty sure I remember that song from when I was like 4 or 5, and he was in his like new metal era, like
Yeah.
like we're talking full blown. I'm pretty sure he had dreads at some point as well. Like went full blown new metal, and yeah, I'm pretty sure when I heard this, when I saw the video for this on Kerrang, like, I mean, you're talking like, how old would I have been? Like 11 or 12. So you're talking like 5, no, 6 or 7 years later, possibly even 8.
Mm-hmm.
When I first heard that, it was like this like core memory was unlocked where I was like, I know that. That's awesome. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, unfortunately, my one thing about this album is it peaks really early on with Here to Stay, and the rest of it to me is just good Korn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make Believe is creepy heavy Korn. Blame is another nasty riff that only Korn can nail the way they do it. Hollow Life. Oh yeah, we have synth now, by the way. Because like
Mhm.
up till this point, they made it very clear that the only sounds they made on the album were guitars. Um, as far as I can tell, like all of the weird, even down to like weird G-funk type
Yeah.
like stuff with the guitars was just all really cool, creative, playing off of one another stuff. But yeah, bottled up inside, like good God, they just hit it out of the park with groove riffs, man. Thoughtless, love this one, and the music video features a very young Aaron Paul, who would go on to play Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hating. I love a swingy song. I love a song with a bit of swing to it. One More Time. One More Time's weird. It's almost like a hard rock type song from Korn, which
Yeah.
is something they're not really known for. But like, it gives me it almost gives me like action movie car chase scene vibes. Alone I Break. They're really beginning to experiment with like electronic elements on this album. Not nearly in the realm of like Path of Totality, but like they're there.
Yeah.
Embrace. I've never heard a Korn riff that I didn't at least elicit a head nod from me. Beat It Upright. Once again, holy fuck, that's filthy. Wake Up Hate. We have a fully blown foray into the early 2000s arcade racer music at this point with Wake Up Hate. Like that immediately takes me back to being about 8 years old and playing Crazy Taxi at Truro Bowling Alley. I'm Hiding. Jonathan's such a great frontman, dude. Seriously, especially on No One's There as well. Like he really pushes to his upper register with his voice. It's impressive. Honestly, this album's a cool evolution, albeit slight, with like a few more keyboard elements in there. But that being said, album number 5 ended up being my number 5, and I think that is kind of beautiful in its own little way.
My number 5, you've already talked about this. My number 5 is The Nothing from 2019.
Nice.
So this is a little bit of a personal thing too, because it's 13th album for them, but this was pretty much a rebirth of the band for me, because I was into Korn late 90s, early 2000s, and then I just kind of fell off. It wasn't them, it was me. I went separate ways, and I was listening to different things. And then occasionally when I would catch a Korn song, there were some that I went, oh, that's fucking good. But like nothing ever brought me back to an album. And I just remember this album came out soon after I started doing my podcast and YouTube channel stuff. And I just remember I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to like talk about all this music, I should listen to more stuff that I would probably normally go, it's not really my thing. And I just remember like listening to 2 of the pre-release songs from The Nothing, which Cold was one of them, and the other one was, I don't remember what the other one was. But both of them I was just like, wow, like this is great. And it immediately made me feel like this nostalgia. I'm just like, this feels like late 90s, kind of shit. And so the album came out and I was all over it, and I got it when it came out, and I was just like, man, the whole album is just like, and some of it to me, and especially now that I've gotten well acquainted with the stuff that happened while I was gone, this seems to have some of the heaviest shit they had done in years, especially a song like Cold. Like this has the most like death growly vocals on it that I've ever heard Jonathan Davis do. He's done random shit.
Yeah.
But this one has the most. Like I'm just like, it's crazy the amount of like different things he does.
Oh, yeah. his growl's really unique too. Like it is uniquely his.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though
And
he doesn't break it out very often, but when he does,
yeah, and I was blown away by then and now just the fact that it really does feel like classic Corn through a modern Corn, lens, or
cornhole.
a modern Cornhole. It's they're mature guys now,
Yeah,
all fathers and shit. But they still get together and they manage to make this music that constantly reminds you of, oh yeah, that's why this band is fucking legendary,
yeah.
because they they play Corn. It's like,
Mhm.
it's new metal? Sure, you could call it new metal, but at the end of the day, there are other new metal bands that sound similar in certain ways to Corn, but you know immediately that it's not Corn. It's
Mhm.
like there's a thing that they do, and it's the combination we've talked about in the last episode. Combination of those dudes. It's just one of those things that, like lightning in a bottle, whatever they
Yeah.
say, Um, it's
I would even yeah, I was just gonna chime in there. I would compare it to Faith No More. Faith No
sure.
More are the only band that does Faith No More the way it can be done properly, you know?
Yeah. And so that's why, like, the Nothing ends up being in the top 5 alongside
Yeah.
these next 4 absolute classic albums, because that just it makes me so happy that these older dudes are still so, like, who knows how many years they have left, and they haven't gotten to a point where you can't say they're not in their prime anymore.
Yeah.
They're not even there. You want even watch them live, still fucking kicking it. Hopefully Fieldy comes back at some point, because it sucks that I think he had to leave for rehab or something.
Yeah.
But they got Raw Diaz, who's from Suicidal, on bass, and that guy fucking rules. But he's not Fieldy.
Hmm.
He's but anyway, Nothing is a fucking great album. If you're somebody that, like, just
Yeah,
likes
out of context, that would sound really bad.
yeah. I was gonna say though that if you just like watching us and you're not really into Corn, the Nothing is really a great album to see if, like, will they bring you back in, because they brought me back in a big bad way. So that's my number 5, which means we have the exact same top 4.
Hmm.
But are they in the same order? I'm going to go ahead and say no. But we will see. So this is when it gets good, folks. And here's where there'll be a commercial. I'm literally going to put a commercial right there.
Oh, dude, that's gonna be ace.
Welcome
So
back from the commercial. Hopefully, it was for some sort of erectile dysfunction pill
yeah.
or beer.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know the moment I realized I'd left the 18 to 24 age bracket?
What?
When I started being advertised keeps and hymns like keep your hair ointment.
Oh.
like it was like, you're like, did you know most men experience some form of hair loss before the age of 35? It's like, are you, well, I need to know. Do I need it or no? Don't keep reminding me. Like, yeah. um like I was saying, by the way, I'm now realizing what a fanboy I look when I brought up that Faith No More comparison wearing a fucking Faith No More shirt.
Oh, that's all
Yeah.
right. Well, it makes sense because Corn
You
were
like Faith No
influenced.
More, Eddie?
Corn were influenced by Faith No More. They've said that. So I
Exactly,
mean,
which is, pardon me. Some God.
he's choking on Faith No More's dick. That's what he's doing.
Yeah. Hey. Sorry, my body just hit factory reset. I'm gonna sort myself out. Fucking hay fever is the last of my concerns when I can't even drink water properly. Um, but yeah. Okay,
Number
yeah.
4, top 4. Let's do it. Let's
Top
find out.
four.
Let's find out. We could match up. We could not. Let's do this.
Now you were unsure as to whether or not you were unsure as to whether or not we'd match up. However, I have a sneaking suspicion that we might.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at this right now and I'm thinking to myself, I've pretty much ranked these top four based on whether or not I'd agree with what I think you'll say. Not because, you know, yeah, and you know what, and it's not because it's not my own opinion, because I have this ranking as my ranking, but I've looked at it long and hard, and I've pretty much predicted everything you could, everything on average that I think you would say.
This
So mine,
this will be interesting.
yeah. So my number four, drum roll please, is 1996's "Life Is Peachy."
Bam! Also my number 4.
Hey!
Life is peachy, ladies and gentlemen. Cool.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna jump right in.
Okay.
You're not. Sorry,
Sorry.
Twist.
That probably sounded
Twist.
like I'm just banging on my desk. Who knows how that even sounded? It's just a bunch of fucking noise. People ripping their earbuds out of their ears or whatever. God damn it.
I'm just wondering what the hell next door think, because they're in there watching TV. They just heard that in the middle of a conversation. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, I mean, this song is teased at the start of Clown on the previous album. If you knew that, like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
hear one of them say, "Man, I want to hear Twist. I wish we could twist on the fucking record." And now they lead off this album with it. I love the fact that it's track one, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, imagine buying this, not knowing, you know, this is still 1996. You'd buy the CD. This is the first thing you hear when you've probably got it cranked. There's a possibility you've got the windows down, and all of a sudden from your car emits the sound of some disturbed beaver in a blender. Like,
I mean, I'm going to go as far as to say it's probably in the top 10 best album openers ever. Just for setting a tone of like, get ready for some shit, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
It's about to go down.
Yeah. It's almost like, you know, I brought up Faith No More. There's also a lot of Mr. Bungle influence on them as well.
Yeah.
Because I remember hearing something or reading something somewhere that I think it was Fieldy. He said there's a song on the first Mr. Bungle album called "Love Is a Fist," and it's got this riff in it that just crushes. And you know, this short scat fest is iconic to the point of meme status at this point. So like with that opening the album, you get Chi, which is a 1-2 punch. You know, sick up the same old thing. Someone dig a hole, bury, bang. It's just. Oh, there's so many good vocal moments on this though, because John's just going skits on this.
He's the fucking star of this album. This particular one is like the John Davis show. It's so much great shit on here.
It's like you thought the last album was disturbing. I've descended farther down the rabbit hole, motherfucker. Like Lost is creepy and heavy. Swallow, man, David Silvera. Killer drummer. Porno Creep is this like kind of G-funky interlude. Good God. You know, like one. It's not only got one of my favorite intro drum fills of all time. Doom, boom, doom, ba doom, doom, ba doom, da ba doom, 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 doom. That bit. but like
Yeah.
the "Would you get the fuck out of my face?" No,
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
"Would you get the fuck out of my face?" It's like a rabid dog, like
That
about to lash out.
that's why I have such a hard time, because you said something about, like, Here to Stay being your favorite Corn song. I have such a hard time with Corn songs because every time I go, that's my favorite. And then this, like a song like this will pop up, and once it gets to that, won't you get the fuck out of my face? I'm like, no, this is my favorite Corn song. No,
No,
no, no, wait. This is my favorite Corn. It's really tough. It's a tough one for me.
oh man, like this album is Korn at their most unhinged,
Yeah.
which is
Well, it was. I mean, if you read about the
yeah.
making of it, it was Jonathan Davis also at his most unhinged.
Yeah.
He sounds annoying as fuck.
Oh,
He's like, he
God.
seems like, because he even talks about how he would just like randomly bite people. And I'm like, God damn it, dude.
But like the thing is, like, as well, that I love about this is that I can bring in another parallel with Mr. Bungle, is that around this time, just a year before, they'd gone from playing the funk metal carnival ride that is the debut,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden in 1995 they go, fuck everyone, we're doing this Disco Volante thing, which is arguably, if not definitely, the single most inaccessible album in my entire library.
And we
Like,
did, not only have we done a Faith No More ranking, we did a Mr. Bungle ranking as well. You can go back and listen to our thoughts on all of that shit.
but it just strikes me that, I hear a lot of like the debut Bungle album's influence on the debut Korn album, and now I hear Korn basically upping the insanity and doing their Disco Volante.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's not as out there as Disco Volante, but in terms
No.
of music, it's still fucking insane.
Yeah, I would go as far as to say I feel like this is their darkest album and most kind of fucked up sounding album out of everything they've done.
Oh, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Because like, you could maybe argue the debut based on the merit of Daddy alone.
Yeah, I
However,
think that's more subject matter. Is
Yeah.
obviously is clearly very dark on that album, but this one, for some reason, the whole vibe of the album, just everything about it is just, even down to the artwork. It's everything just feels very dark.
darker, sinister,
Yeah, yeah.
And, like, the best part is, as well, of all the people to receive a diss track, Mr. Rogers.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Not everyone's my neighbor, you bastard. Some people live far away.
I had no. I'm of one of the generations that should have a connection to Mister Rogers, but I don't, because even as a kid, I thought that show was fucking lame, and I'm all like, "Where's Fraggle Rock?" Like I did not care about Mister Rogers. In fact, when I was a kid, if a show had humans in it, I was like, who's this show for? For babies? I want Muppets and animated characters in my shit.
Do you want to know what I've had stuck in my head for the last week or so?
What?
Monster in the Mirror by Grover. I've had that stuck in my head. Wabba 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 woo woo woo. Wabba 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 do doodly doo. Absolute fucking banger.
I'm literally gonna take that and I'm gonna edit it and repeat it over and over again, because I tried to say so quiet while you were doing that, because I'm like, oh, this is so good. This is so good. Thank you for doing that.
That's okay.
Like that's at the 55 minute mark or so. I'm gonna remember that. Boom.
I'm just gonna bring this up as well. Did you know Fraggle Rock, the lighthouse in the intro to Fraggle Rock, is from my home county?
Oh no, did not know that.
It's in Cornwall. It's in St. Mawes. Yeah, it's that's always been the the pride of this household. We're from the
Interesting.
same county. We're from the same county as the Fraggle Rock Lighthouse.
Nice. And I was all over that show when I was a kid. I loved it.
Yeah, down at Fraggle Rock. But yeah, where was I? We next have K @ symbol hashtag asterisk % symbol exclamation point, otherwise known as cunts. How many swears do you want in this song? Yes.
I'm fine with that number.
Yeah, it's there's one line in there about an armpit. I need to read it because it just fucking cracks me up every time. Korn lyrics.
Here we go. A reading from Mr. Eddie Sparxx.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna try and do a lyric reading without cracking up.
Okay.
I'm gonna read this as like a poetry recital.
Got it.
Fuck you, titty sucking two-balled bitch with a fat green clit, my big Korhoto bitch. Oh shit, fucking ass licking, piss sucking cunt, these nuts on your lips. Kentucky fried kung pao clits. Saggy twit. Okay.
This is when they're gonna send me the email. It says like your video is not suitable for ads.
Do you know what would be even funnier is if you just like bleeped this entire segment. Okay. Saggy tits swinging between your fat crusty armpit. Big ass hairy mole between your pussy lips. Fuck shit cock dick cunt tit barf piss balls ass pecker queef. Oh shit fuck bitch damn fucking diarrhea slut with HIV. I don't know what to say. So what? Don't give a fuck. I don't know what to say.
That's beautiful. Okay.
Well, that was 2 minutes of free content that we owe to Korn. Okay. Well, now that this is most definitely demonetized.
Hey, you never know. Did that commercial happen earlier? It'll happen again. Except for on the podcast side of things, I'm not popular enough now to have people do ads on my podcasts. But whatever.
We'll get there. We ain't stopping. We're gonna make at least $1.50.
Yeah.
So yeah, No Place to Hide, heavy ass chromatic riffage. Wicked featuring Chino Moreno or Chino Moreno. I've always said Chino Moreno because I think it has a nice ring to it.
It sounds much better.
Yeah. Adidas or Adidas, as the Americans would say, or alternatively, oh yeah, dream about sex. Great song.
Which this would be a good time to point out that since our last episode, there has been leaked images of the collaboration between Korn and Adidas, where if the pictures are true, there will be a purple sequined jumpsuit for sale. And I am probably not going to buy it because I think it's supposed to be like $300, but still
it's tempting.
There's a part of me that kind of wants to do it. The weird thing about Adidas is that I've heard people pronounce it so many different ways. And so one day I was like, I'm going to go look up some Adidas commercials and see how they pronounce it on the commercials. I found 3 different pronunciations of Adidas on 3 different Adidas commercials.
Wow.
One where they say Adidas, one where they say Adidas, and one where they say like Adidas or something like that. And I was just like, this doesn't help at all. And they're all from different periods. Like one's from the 80s, one from the 90s. And I'm just like, can somebody tell me what's right?
What is it about fucking sports brands that just throws language up in the air? Nike, which is it? You
Yeah.
know, it's great.
And then
I'm confused.
over in
Yeah,
England, you guys saying Puma. Like that's weird. It's Puma.
yeah, yeah. And just to top it off, I've got my Rebooks.
I'm gonna here's I was about to like date myself. I was about to date myself and crazy. And I was gonna be like, and I've got my British Knights.
Ah, well, you'll be pleased to know that I own a pair of those. So
You have British Knights?
I have a pair of black British Knights. Yes.
Nice. I
Yes.
remember when I was in like junior high, and I really wanted to get like a pair of like cool shoes, but my dad said we didn't have enough money for those. But they did have British Knights on sale, and I was like,
Mm,
the name sounds cool. They look pretty cool. And so that one year I had a pair of black British Knights, and nobody cared because everyone was trying to buy
yeah.
Air Jordans. And I'm just like, well, I got British Knights. They're kind of cool.
Yeah, British Knights. They, look like Converse that ain't Converse.
I don't even think they make them over here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it makes sense. I'm in Britain. But
Yeah.
yeah, so where were we with? Ah, yes.
Saggy
Adidas.
tits in your armpits or some shit like that's where we were.
Big green clit. So we got Lowrider, which is a fun little cover / interlude. Incorporates the bagpipes. It's just a bit of fun, really.
Yeah.
Fun in an unhinged way.
Yeah.
And we have a San Andreas tie-in here because the original war version of Lowrider is in GTA San Andreas, and I will
Mhm.
take every opportunity to bring that up because it's the best game ever made, hands down. Ass itch is hella uncomfortable sensation. Like you can't sit down for shit. Man, that sucks. Great song though. Kill You, heavy as fuck closing track. It's a good Korn album. It
Yeah.
doesn't revolutionize the format, but it still has that killer earlier 90s Korn vibe that no one else has ever done.
Yeah. This one has a lot of nostalgia for me because this was the one where all of a sudden all these people I knew got really into Korn, and I heard this album a lot.
Yeah.
Passing the bowl, do a little hit, pass it around the circle, and in the on the speakers, "Won't you get the fuck out of my face?" Like that was
No.
um, and the thing about I think it's the fact that this album is in between the first album and Follow the Leader, which I think have like standout songs. Whereas
Yeah.
Life is Peachy, aside from Adidas, it's almost just like a vibe. It is just there's great songs on this, but I think for the casual Korn listener, Adidas is as far as they go.
Yeah.
Because it's weird and aggressive, and I like this one just because they, like you said, they just were already pushing the boundaries of shit they were doing, which was already unlike what other people were doing anyway. So it's just
Yeah.
like this band that, like, sure, they may have not really been getting along that well, and like had drug and alcohol issues, and mental and
Fucking bite
emotional
marks all
issues,
over
whatever. Yeah, and but they managed to just like put together this aggressive and uncomfortable, like, amazing music that nobody else could do. Um, and I love the fact that Life is Peachy I started to really think about their albums, and if I was talking to somebody else about the album, Life is Peachy is the most difficult album to explain. It's like
Yeah, it
trying to
really is.
explain to somebody, look, and really all you can do is just play Twist. You'd be like, oh, yeah, there you go, that's the album. If you can wrap your head around that, like that's the album right there. But I love
I can't
it.
remember. I was just gonna say I can't remember if I sent it to you or not. But there's a video on YouTube called "Send This to Your Friend Who Doesn't Listen to Corn," and it's just like all the best out of context. Was it send this to Corn? Or is it like send this to someone who doesn't listen to Corn? It's called, and it is just a 6-minute fever dream of just all the wildest Corn moments.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of those wild moments are on the Life is Peachy, which is our joint number 4. But will we continue to link up with our top 3? Well, you'll find out after this. No, I'm just kidding. Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah. We need to buy some properties first before we sell out.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Here's where I think it gets a little harder, but
That's what she said.
Yeah. Hey, you're on fire today.
Woo.
Whoo, sheesh. Yeah, my number 3, and let me know if we matched up. Follow the Leader.
We did. We matched up. Number 3. Follow the Leader. This is looking good. This is looking good.
Like, I was gonna say, is this looking like another helmet ranking where like
Could
the
be.
top 4 are the same?
Very well could be. So yeah, follow the Leader. Let's do it. Probably a lot of people's number 1, and I would not fault them for it at all.
I initially thought that this was going to be at least 2 for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then one of the other albums clinched it, and I was like, all
right.
I was wrong. Okay, so Follow the Leader, coming straight out the gate with It's On, is a great opener. You know, absolute statement of intent. Great stuff. Freak on a Leash, the Korn song. Like, it's their Enter Sandman. Like when people think Korn, if they don't think of Twist, they think like, yeah.
I mean, you know what? This may sound weird, but I could honestly say that I would rather hear Freak on a Leash than Enter Sandman. And
wow,
Metallica is my favorite band of all time, but I've heard Enter Sandman I've heard both the songs so much, but there's something about Freak on a Leash that does not get old to me.
Yeah, especially that breakdown, like
that,
when that goes off.
But just the whole thing. I don't know. It just it sounds good, feels good. It's a classic.
Yeah, and it's almost like you know I've brought up some like G-funk references to the guitar playing. It really does at points, especially in Freak on a Leash. Gives me, you know, what's that song? Deep Cover.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure that's what they were going for too.
Yeah, like, and you don't stop. 187 on an undercover cap would go over like Match Made in Heaven.
Somebody do that mashup. Freak on a Leash and Deep Cover.
I already did WAP and the breakdown from Freak on a Leash because I found out they have
the same chord
progression. Yeah, like dum 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 dum. Certified freak, 7 days a week.
Wet ass P word.
Oh, do you remember the Ben Shapiro rant as
well? That's what I just said. I said you missed it. I said wet ass P word.
Wet ass P word. Make that pull-up game weak. And then he just basically admitted to the world at his broadcast that he can't sexually excite his wife.
I mean, have you seen the dude?
Well, we've just been declared enemies of the state. So yeah, Got the Life.
Banger.
This song fucks. Hands down.
Yeah.
Mic drop moment. Dead bodies everywhere. Catchy stuff. Children of the Corn. Again, love the Ice Cube stuff. I'm enjoying the overt hip hop.
Well, this was really Family Values. Like Family Values started with this tour, which was Korn, Ice Cube, Limp Bizkit, Rammstein, and Orgy. Which because I got the VHS of that, and
that's a late 90s lineup if ever I've seen it. Holy shit!
Yeah, and you know what? I the only thing I ever skip on it is Rammstein because they're fucking awful. But you know,
okay.
and luckily the whole world is about to back really far away from Rammstein. So I'm like, hey, I was already there, guys.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, though. I gotta credit them for Du Hast being the song that made me realize I like heavy riffs.
Oh yeah, you know, I'm not, you know, people like them. I've never liked them, and especially on the Family Values video, it's just so like, it seems so much like they're putting on this extreme show to cover the fact that the songs aren't really that great. And they're like, what was that song about where he spewed semen everywhere? I don't know, but I remember the semen part. I know, because the song isn't good.
Oh,
anyway, sorry about that. That's when we get to our Rammstein ranking, and it's going to be 2 hours of me being like, fuck this, number 9, fuck this, number 8.
Well, it's until the verdict's out on what's gone down with the whole situation. I think it's going to be one's up in the air right now.
It's very clear that he's done something wrong because even the band is like, look, everything we thought everything was on the up and up. There's been a distance between us and him, and I'm like, oh, he did some shit. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. If we're calling into question the whole like backstage groupie thing, we're like,
I think it went further than that.
That's the thing, though. Like, how far?
I think he went Marilyn Manson. You know, so you know.
Yeah. What's happening with him right now? What happened with that?
It's weird because he had accusations, and then some people retracted their accusations, saying they were pressured into saying things, but then other people are confirming other people's accusations and saying, yeah, there's total abuse going on with him and these women. So it's one of those things where there's not enough information to really say one way or the other. So that's why, like, you know, my Marilyn Manson comments are a little bit, you know, I know they're tongue in cheek because I don't know. I was not there, but I'm also really not a very big fan. And I've always said, I'm never going to go all in on being fuck these people unless I have proof. Yeah, if I have undeniable proof, if I have Ted Nugent proof that they're pieces of shit, then I will be like, fuck them forever. But until I have that proof, if you're Ted Nugent or Bill Cosby, which is two different levels of awfulness, you know, but they're both ones that have been confirmed. And so I'm just like, well, fuck those people. So there you go.
You know what? I'm looking up right now. Ted Nugent discography.
No.
How many albums is this? Because, like, even if I've been thinking a lot, could something you don't enjoy yield a hilarious set of episodes?
Oh, hell yeah. We will happily shit all over everything Ted Nugent ever touched, except for High Enough. That song's a banger. But, you know, he didn't write that. He just played a shitty solo on it. So there you go.
And some dive bombs.
Well, yeah.
You take me high enough.
But that was all Home Dude from Styx and the other guy. The two who's the other singer? Is he in Damn Yankees? It's one of the guys is from Styx and the other guy is from something else. Somebody else put it in the comments because I'm not going to remember by the end of the episode.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
We're counting Ted Nugent albums.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Jesus Christ, 18 Ted Nugent albums. Can you do it?
Yeah.
No. Got you on a stranglehold, baby. No, yeah. Strangleholds in GTA Vice City Stories, by the way.
Yeah, that's a boring
Which,
song.
you know.
It's a very boring song. And that's the thing, is I thought that was a boring song prior to me personally not liking Ted Nugent. I was just like, this doesn't do anything for me. Just like everything Eric Clapton ever did. I'm just like, doesn't do anything for me. And turns out he's a prick. So there you go.
Thoughts on Cat Scratch Fever? You like the Pantera version?
No, I don't like any version of that song. That's like,
oh, really?
That's it's such a boring riff too. It's like the fucking Three Blind Mice of rock and roll. Like, go fuck yourself, Ted Nugent.
Oh man, firing shots off. I mean, he's quite keen to do that.
Man, I would love it if he heard this and knew who I was enough to talk shit about me. Man, I would get some more fans, and it'd be fans that I wanted. So I'd be like, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard to We Hate Ted Nugent. I'll change the name of my whole channel. That'll be all I'll be doing. Hate Ted Nugent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I remember there was a Miami Vice episode that had Ted Nugent in it. And yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I very much enjoyed the show Supergroup.
Yeah.
With Scott Ian and Evan Seinfeld. And you ever watch that? Do you ever get to see that?
I've seen clips of it.
Oh, I fucking
Savage
love it.
Animal.
Oh, hell yeah. Baz is the shit in that series. Anyway, but even in that show, it's like, oh yeah, Ted Nugent's a prick, and there he is just being a prick and playing guitar. That's what he does. Chewing gum way too fucking much with his mouth open. Goddamn. Sorry.
It's just such a fucking shit talking fest.
Can you imagine what the episode would be like? It's going to be like a 5-hour episode where I'm barely talking about the music.
I've been binge listening to the podcast Pod of Thunder, and they did an episode where they listened to the song Fredbear by Ted Nugent. Just like, there's so much stuff to pull from a single song.
I don't even know if I've heard that song. I'm going to have to go look that up.
It's a whole other level of, like, it is dedicated to some dead hunter dude.
Okay.
Yeah, some I mean, we're talking about
Korn.
You're shit talking Ted Nugent on a Korn podcast. How did we get here?
I honestly don't remember. Oh, Rammstein, because I was talking about Family Values. Because Ice Cube was on the Family Values, and so was Limp Bizkit, and Fred Durst is also on Follow the Leader on a track that we haven't gotten to yet. But it was a good tour, minus Rammstein.
Kids, be careful of the Ice Cube to Ted Nugent pipeline. It's a very real thing. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's back on the rails. Okay.
But don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Orgy also pretty much sucks too, but at least they're like kind of bearable,
Blue Monday. That's all I knew.
There's Stitches
that's
too.
Cover. Yeah.
Stitches. Dying yourself to me, stitch up my emptiness. That's Orgy.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Sorry, I need it.
Not a great band, but not a horrible band.
Okay. All right. We're back on track now. BBK. It never ceases to amaze me the stuff that the guitarists in this band come up with. Like their interplay it's insane. Like, it's not. I mean, I don't want to say it's not the most technical, because like there's clearly a lot of like work and creativity that goes into making the sounds they make, but it's not shred, but it's totally unique at the same time. It's identifiably them,
Yeah,
really heavy, chunky riffs and G-funk shit.
It's so weird because I've heard people in the past compare some of their guitar work to stuff that Tom Morello does. But for me, they seem like worlds apart. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is exactly. I love both of them, but there's something about the Korn when Korn does the odd guitar parts, they sound dirty and dangerous, and whereas Morello's, it sounds calculated and expertly, it doesn't sound so much like it could go off the rails at any moment. It sounds like he's got everything perfectly under control, whereas Korn, there's a little madness in it, that I like.
Yeah, and you've got to go some to make Tom Morello feel like a traditional guitar player. Like,
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I mean that really puts into perspective how off the wall some of these sounds are.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty really twisted. Like in the same vein as Daddy in terms of darkness. I mean,
Yeah.
this song, in case those who don't know, this is going to take a bit of a turn. Jonathan Davis used to work in a morgue, and yeah, this is about a dead baby that came in who had clearly been killed, which is like a whole other level of fucked. Like, no wonder this dude was going around biting people. Imagine seeing that and trying to stay sane. Jesus.
Yeah.
But at least we have a nice bit of comic relief to immediately follow that up with the the most 1998 thing ever put to recording.
Yeah.
With All in the Family, the rap battle between Fred Durst and Jonathan Davis, which is littered full of words that would get this taken down.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like if Disney Plus released this, they would remove that song. Well, they'd remove the whole fucking album, really.
And I'm not gonna read them out, but All in the Family lyrics.
You're guilty just looking at them. It's you're sorry, canceled. Eddie Sparxx.
You stuck up sucker, corny motherfucker.
Hashtag Eddie Sparxx canceled.
It was only a matter of time.
Yep.
But yeah, yes. All in the Family, Fred Durst rap battle. Even Jonathan Davis has gone on record saying he's not a fan of that anymore. But that could just be damage control for the.
It's honestly, it's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons why the album is number 3, because there's a couple songs on this album where I go, I could do without that.
And like, I just said that's the most 1998 thing ever put to a recording. Like the breakdown in the following song, "Reclaim My Place," is also very of that era. Just yelling "what the fuck" over a breakdown.
Yeah,
I mean, you could tell it was like, right, we're in the 90s now, we're edgy, we're gonna yell "fuck"
if there's
as if it was new.
If there's one thing that you knew bands wanted you to do in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was get the fuck up.
Yeah.
Every band, like, it doesn't matter, get the fuck up. Nobody says that anymore. I wish they would.
I was gonna say, isn't there a like new metal documentary called "Jump the Fuck Up" or something on YouTube? I've been meaning to watch it. Or
could
something.
be jump the fuck up is Soulfly.
Yeah, jump the fuck up.
Get the fuck up is like in all sorts of songs.
Jump the fuck up, new metal documentary. I want to see if this is real before.
Is this the most Googling we've ever done in an episode?
It's just a bunch of fan-made fucking music videos. That's also new metal as hell. Okay, right. Right. Justin. I love when they make G-funk synth noises with guitars. Mm-hmm. Seed has a great chorus. Cameltosis, love the hip-hop stuff that sneaks onto Korn albums.
Yeah.
My gift to you, you got to get the bagpipes in there somewhere. And there's a little hidden Cheech and Chong cover of Earache My Eye.
Mama talking to me, trying to tell me how to live. But I don't listen to her because my head is like a sieve.
I like the I like the Scatterbrain version of that song as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Speaking of
I
which,
fucking liked, I like the version in the damn movie. Right? So
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So where was I? Oh, that's Follow the Leader done. So yeah,
so
number three.
it's my number three as well. I really don't have much to add. I mean, it's their, I guess, their best known album. They're definitely their biggest seller. Um, and it's packed full of classic songs. We went through all the songs, but I don't think they're all amazing songs. That's the thing, is that I think the songs on this album that are good at a level that is above a lot of shit that they did. But there's also songs that I go, it's not a 100% all banger album for me.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think it's definitely worth its place as this classic of the new metal era.
Yes.
Because it
Yeah.
really did, it grabbed my attention. It was the reason why I started listening to Korn as an actual fan, as opposed to just hearing it in a weed circle every once in a while. Um, and then I became a fan of like all the stuff they had put out, because I was just like, oh yeah, this band's really good. Where the fuck have I been? And it was Got the Life that did it. Got the Life was the song. The first time I saw that music video on MTV, I was just like, this fucking rules. And then I got the album, and the rest is history. But yeah, I mean, it's cool because it's definitely a progression from Life is Peachy. And I would almost say this is the probably the only Korn album that I am comfortable with using the word fun with it.
Yeah.
Because like
It's a bit lighter in tone.
it's got darker stuff on it, but for some reason when I think of Follow the Leader, I think of, all right, if I want Korn and I want to have a good time,
Get your boogie on.
yeah. If you want to get your boogie on, you listen to Follow the Leader. Great album. I just think that my top two are just perfected for what they
chef's
are.
Kiss.
It's all the chefs kissing. So let's find out. Are we going to match up with our top two Korn albums after this? Welcome back, everybody.
Corny.
All right. Number two. What's your number two?
Okay, so being as I've got it in my head that, there's one that is consistently cited as ground zero. Nu metal was born there.
Yeah.
And it's it is heralded as such a game changer that, the debut is gonna be higher than my number two, because my number two is Issues.
Nope.
I broke the fucking cycle. Shit.
sorry. My number two is not Issues. But go on ahead. Let's talk about Issues.
Okay.
Clearly, I have no issues with that album.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Issues. Now, this was, the third album in that little CD pack that I told you that I'd attained last time.
Yep.
Way back in 2010, when I'd just gotten into like heavy music, and I really liked Korn. It's Korn. Big lump. No, sorry. It's just the fact that I said I really like Korn, and it set me up for that. So yeah, sadly, somehow Issues went missing. So I only have in that pack now, Life is Peachy and Follow the Leader. So Issues for a long time has been out of my rotation. I think up until we listened to it for this, I think I hadn't listened to Issues in at least 10 years. And it's one of those albums that I came back to and went, oh.
Yeah.
this wasn't the one I should have lost. Because like, Dead is a fun little intro track. There's a lot of like small little tracks that tie the whole thing together.
Yep.
But man, is this album cohesive. Like, wow.
Yep.
And something that this album has that I feel like a lot of Korn albums have, but not as much, is space and atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
There is a like, the way I would describe it is that Follow the Leader, I am hyper aware that I am listening to an album from 1998 and I am listening to a studio recording.
Mm-hmm.
When I listened to Issues, I was absorbed by it,
Yeah.
It's like it's one of those otherworldly albums that has a vibe all its own.
Mm-hmm.
So Dead, fun little intro track. And then you get Falling Away From Me, which is such a great song.
Yep.
True definition of the word banger, and just a really great case of dynamics being used in a song in an explosive way, like the
yeah. Great production by Brendan O'Brien on this one.
Yeah. Was it the same? Did Brendan O'Brien do the previous album as well? Or was that?
No, that's Ross Robinson.
I was going to say.
Oh no. It's a completely different producer that did Follow the Leader. So Ross Robinson did the first two. Follow the Leader, or people like that I don't really even know. I don't remember who it was. Probably somebody known by other people, but not me.
Well, this album, Brendan O'Brien, it makes a lot of sense because it like captures the band in a space, and Brendan's good at that. Trash, there's an atmospheric edge to this album, like I said, that adds space to what they'd achieved on Follow the Leader. Mm-hmm. For You is a cool little creepy interlude kind of track. Beg For Me, goddamn, that riff.
Yeah, and it's a great one.
Make Me Bad,
also
goddamn, that groove. Like the chorus is great too. It's Gonna Go Away is another creepy interlude. Wake Up, I think I've got a new alarm sound for my phone. Wake the fuck up. Am I Going Crazy? Quite possibly. Hey Daddy, not sure if this is a sequel to the harrowing Daddy from the debut, but it could perhaps be dealing with the aftermath. I didn't read too deeply into things, but I mean, to have a song called Daddy and then down the line have a song called Hey Daddy, I didn't read too deep. I just kind of left that open. So if anyone wants to tell me in the comments, off base,
I honestly, I've learned not to read too deep into any of their lyrics because I'm just like, I'm enjoying the vibe here. I'll learn the chorus maybe.
Yeah, it's almost like maybe I don't want to know what this is about. Almost sometimes, But I remember the first time I heard Daddy, and I was on a bus and I was listening to the album. And when it got to Daddy, at the end, I almost like, when he starts crying, at the end of it, I almost shed a tear because like I heard what the song was about, and then hearing it and hearing that raw visceral emotion that he has in there is just heart wrenching, Somebody, someone.
But that's a different album. Yeah. That's the.
And I will get to that. Yeah. So, but yeah, Somebody, Someone. Big fan of that hip hoppy guitar, like.
Yeah.
No Way. I like when Jonathan does like. There every now and again in Korn songs, I'll hear something like vaguely Alice in Chainsy, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, nice." Let's Get This Party Started. Korn doing late 90s Korn damn well. Yeah. Wish You Could Be Me is a weird interlude track. Counting. I remember loving the riff to this and learning it on guitar early in my musical journey, but I didn't have a 7-string, so I just tuned my 6-string really low to the point where it was almost like. Yeah. Dirty is 3 minutes 44 of spacious, deranged goodness, and then 4 minutes and 6 seconds of white noise. It's a great album, fucking fantastic.
I agree.
They took everything great about what they'd done and made probably their best sounding album, as a cohesive piece. Like, all of the little things that just tie it together as one big experience is just, it's just such a well crafted selection of material. And so with that,
not my number two.
Wow.
But my number two is your number one, which is the debut album Korn from '94. I just not a lot to say about this album that hasn't already been said by shitloads of people. It's an absolute game changer. It's a classic. The beginning of a new subgenre. At the time they didn't know that. But the great thing about early Korn stuff is that it still sounds just as groundbreaking today as it did back then.
Yeah.
And I've gone on record in saying that when I first heard Blind, I wasn't into it, and I really think that I just didn't quite get it at first.
Yeah. Well, you'd never heard it before. You didn't know how to react.
Yeah, and there were other things that I considered related to that kind of stuff that were more on the, like Rage Against the Machine was more my speed. But this was something that, like, I was just like, I don't really know if this is for me. And I, came around in the end. Obviously, by the end of the '90s, I was really into Korn. But this first album is one that I feel like it's so unique and special that it's almost like the kind of thing that I don't know if this album is like in the Library of Congress, but it should be, because it's like one of those albums that I think is so significant in not just '90s music, but heavy music in general. It's, to me, it's the, if you want to say, Black Sabbath invented metal, they didn't know they were doing it. They just put out the album Black Sabbath, and now that album is absolutely iconic. The first Korn album to me is the same kind of thing, and where it's just dudes stumbled upon some sort of sound, and they were doing these things in such a unique way that obviously, like, all sorts of people were inspired by it. I wonder if we lived in a reality where Korn had never happened, would the next Sepultura album have been Roots? Because
that's a very good hypothetical question to put.
Because I really like, because right now, in the way that, because we did Sepultura, a while ago, and now it seems, going from Chaos AD to Roots, it seems to make sense now, but it makes more sense if you say, "Oh, Chaos AD," and then you put Korn in there, and you go, "Oh, now Roots really makes a lot of sense."
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so it's like all sorts of bands that they were influencing, and there were bands that were doing the shit around the same time as them, but I feel like even those bands were inspired by Korn once Korn hit the scene, real big.
Yeah.
But I think for what it is, it's a fucking perfect album. I think my top two, these albums are perfect. I wouldn't change anything about them. I think that they are both examples of a band just absolutely nailing what they were going for. And the fact that this is the first Korn album, one of the best debut albums ever, got to be in the top 10, just with the sheer originality and just coming out of nowhere with this sort of shit. This wasn't a popular sound. They didn't they didn't hear the Beatles on Ed Sullivan and decide to make this album. It wasn't they didn't, Nirvana, Nevermind probably had very
Mr.
little
Rogers
to do.
And went, fuck that.
What would it sound like if we played our instruments to sound like We Hate Mr. Rogers? It would sound like this. Anyway, it's an absolute classic. and it's your number one. So I'm gonna throw it over to you because your number one Korn album is Korn because it's Korn.
Yeah.
Korn.
Corn. Corn, corny, corn, corn, corn. Corn.
Corn.
Corn, 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 corn.
Corn. Corn. Corn.
Corn.
Corn. Corn. Corn. Corn.
Corn.
Corn.
Corn.
Okay. Corn.
Fill another 20 minutes of just that. Do you know what'd be funny? Is if we like just looped that for 10 minutes and see if anybody notices.
People will be so pissed.
Oh, that'd be incredible. Oh, but yeah, so Blind is a classic in the truest sense of the word. Immediately followed up with Bull Tongue. I mean, that's a gnarly groover as well.
For many years, I didn't know he was actually saying words in that song. And then one day I was listening to it on Apple Music because I'd never read the lyrics to the album. And I clicked on the thing and I was like, oh, he's saying words? Because it always seemed like.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
His words.
Bull Tongue, I'm a vagabond. We're justified. Bull Tongue, congrats, you just fucked up my makeup and shit. Bull Tongue, what have you done for me? Wow.
But it's like the way he says it even then. It's not like the normal way you would say those lines. Once again, Jonathan Davis being a unique motherfucker from day one.
So I was gonna say, yeah, there's a uniquely fucked upness to the first two Korn albums. We've just just how nuts they were, man. Especially Jonathan. Need to. That funky slap bass makes my ears happy. You know what? Like I know Fieldy's bass tone divides opinion. I'm a big fan of it. Like I like that Korn has that element to them. Without it, it wouldn't be Korn. Would it fit in every band? No. But here it works perfectly. Like that, like kind of Simpsons Maggie pacifier kind of click.
I mean, think of how many bass players there are that you can recognize who they are just by the playing. I mean, Les Claypool, Fieldy. Who else?
Bill Gould. I'm just again sucking off Faith No More. But yeah, maybe Cliff Burton.
Okay. I mean, I love the guy. I love the guy, but I mean, maybe with when the wah's on there, that makes sense.
Yeah. Clown. I always love that little studio skit in this song, and it helps that the song itself bangs.
Yeah.
Divine. Yeah. They even make upbeat riffs sound nasty on this. Mm-hmm. Now, in order to not trip the word identification software, I've already said the C word earlier in this, so I'm gonna go fa bum 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 get.
Oh, are you talking about the classic song Faget?
Ah, yes, Faget. Yes. Probably my favorite moment on the whole album is the build up and release of the ramped breakdown in this song, ultimately culminating to a world that never. Oh, hang on, wait. Keeps feeling me day after day, son. You fucking. I'm sick and tired of people treat me this way every day. Who gives a fuck? Right now, I got something to say to all the people that think I'm strange. That ask me out of here, locked up in a cage. So,
even when
you can suck my dick and fucking like it. Dun, 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 dun.
Even
like
even you doing it gave me chills. That's how good it is. Like it's like I don't even need Jonathan Davis to do that part because I'm just like, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. It's fucking. He's the only guy that could deliver that and it not be cringy. though,
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
just know that comes from a place of I am so incredibly fucked up right now.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, man. And I mean, fucked as in I've been put through hell, like not just on some sort of substance, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, shoots and ladders.
Mm.
Again, Korn is the only band that can get away with
The,
turning nursery rhymes into a metal song and making it fucking work convincingly.
speaking of moments in songs,
Sorry.
that moment in the song, like that going into the next part of the song, that's another part that just gives me chills because the
Yeah.
song kind of just stops and he just says like, and then it like it kicks back in again. Like every
Yeah.
time that happens, I'm just like, that's fucking insane. It's so good.
I also always tied that in with the album cover. Like
Yeah,
it's almost like this you compared this album to Black Sabbath's debut. It's almost like it's almost like the spiritual shift of subject matter going from the occult to child snatcher levels of reality and darkness, you know,
yeah,
like from the
yeah.
album cover, you know, it's a girl on a swing looking up at a shadowy silhouette of God knows what. Um, and it's like, it really does. Yeah, to me, I always put this and Machine Head's Burn My Eyes as kind of a changing of the guard moment in metal. I always point to this.
Sure.
I point to this album and well, I basically point to Blind and Davidian as the
I
moment.
I don't even I
Like,
won't wouldn't I would never even include Machine Head because Rob Flynn was in a thrash band in the 80s. It's like he's not a new dude. He just started a new
yeah,
band. So Korn is legit new dudes, new
yeah.
sound, you know.
But I remember I was talking to my uncle about it, and he said he remembers the day he came home, turned on the TV, and heard the ending to Davidian, and he knew something had shifted. Like that was the thing that sold him on, like the oh, so slow is cool now,
Yeah.
like, you know, but yeah, and this album too, like those two albums to me are like, see, I could very easily group this in as an old school metal album, but also a modern metal album. It's such a
Yeah.
midpoint now
Yeah.
in heavy music history. It's pretty much slap bang down the middle. It like kind of closes out the 70s, 80s, and the first half of the 90s into the second half of the 90s and what we have going forward. But yeah,
Well, I mean, it's interesting just from my perspective of that time period because like
sorry.
in my for me as a music fan and a musician, we've talked about it hundreds of times. Nirvana Nevermind was the one that I think changed everything. But I
Yeah,
almost feel like what you're saying kind of makes sense where I feel like Nirvana, like maybe they didn't kick open a new door, but they literally like cleared the way for a band
yeah,
like Korn to kick open the door. Um, and because like when you really think about it, if you go back and listen to like, sure, Nirvana's like it's groundbreaking and important, but it wasn't like it wasn't hard for older people to get into Nirvana, especially not hard for them to get into Pearl Jam because that shit's basically arena rock. But
yeah,
but then you get to something like Korn, that's legit something where people that aren't listening to rock music or heavy rock music will hear it and go, "What the fuck is this noise?"
yeah,
And it was popular because clearly death metal and stuff was already going on, but
yeah,
I think that's a good point that Korn was really like that is truly tipping over into a new thing where it's just
yeah,
like this is not your dad's music anymore, that kind of thing.
yeah, absolutely. And like the fact that they got away with knick knack paddywhack, give a dog a bone, this old man came rolling home, just puts a
Yeah.
big fat smile on my face. But yeah, predictable. It ironically, not a good descriptor of this album.
No, definitely not.
Down and dirty filth. Yeah, fake. More down and dirty filth. Lies. Those growls are brutal. Like the motherfucker could have been a death metal vocalist if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Helmet in the Bush is the earliest example of overtly hip-hoppy stuff in the Korn catalog. And finally, we have possibly the most gruesomely visceral song I've ever heard from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even going to inject any jokes here. This is genuinely heartbreaking to hear.
Yeah.
Like it's filthy and heavy, but the kind of the tone, the subject matter, and his inevitable breakdown in the vocal booth, which they chose to keep going and record.
Well, from what I read, I think that part especially, he had no idea that they were still rolling. At least that's the legend has it, or whatever, you know.
And to be honest, from the vibe of it, like he starts breaking down, and then the band starts going again, and they keep going.
But if you hear like the vocals, he's not close to the mic anymore.
No, he's not. He's moved away, and
he's moved away from the mic. So
he's probably, like, the image I have in my head, he's bundled on the floor in a fetal position, crying his eyes out.
Sure.
And
like, it really ruined that kind of subject matter for many other bands for me, because you would hear other
if you're not doing that.
Well, it's like it's like years later, like in the early 2000s, maybe I don't know what year it was, but when the first like Papa Roach album comes out, and the song is all like, "My parents got divorced." I'm like, "Fuck you." It's like, some of us have real problems, and so it made it become this thing where that's where like I had my complaints about nu metal for a long time, where everyone was whining about everything, and I'm all like, well, from Jonathan Davis's point of view, no, people weren't doing that. It seemed very real and about very real shit that I would cry about too. But then it's almost like it gets bastardized by other people But to be fair, like emotion gets bought and sold. Emo music. There are some true bands where the music sounds very emotional, vocal delivery very emotional, and then you have other bands like Fall Out Boy, where I'm just like, what are you even fucking sad about, dude? It's like this doesn't even sound sad. And then eventually they didn't make sad music anymore because they were like, oh yeah, we're not actually sad, we're Fall Out Boy. But then hardcore music is, there are people that are truly oppressed raising their fists and saying, we're not going to take it. But then you have like 500 hardcore bands that are like, you're not going to do this to me, motherfucker. What? I don't know, but whatever it is, I don't want them to do it to me. It's like, so it gets to the point where it's like, it's completely meaningless now, because it's like, it's just so, what do you call it?
Played out.
Well, played out, but also watered down. It gets completely watered down. We're doing you want to do some funny vocals right now, because you have fartiness going on right now.
This one goes out to everyone. Motherfucker, that's the worst thing that's happened in this year. This next one goes out.
You don't understand how fucking cool that sounded. First off, the part where you were like, "This song goes out," there was an echo delay, so it was almost like you were. But then by the time you said more words, it was completely unintelligible. But then all of a sudden, you created this fucking like industrial masterpiece right there for a second.
How did the growl sound?
Amazing. This is all staying in the video. You're welcome, everybody, for probably the best episode ever. Like, not only did we created an industrial masterpiece, but we got to slag off Ted Nugent for 10 minutes, and we talked about Korn. It's the best episode ever.
Man, this was a good one. We should talk about Korn more.
Where were we at with were we doing? Oh, you're right. You're still what?
We need to start a spin-off
Korn.
podcast. Yeah, no, hear me out. We need to start a spin-off Korn-focused podcast called Podcorn. Like popcorn, but Podcorn, right? Where we break down every Korn song one by one. Fuck it. It's ripe for the taking. Let's do it.
Are you sure there's not a Korn podcast out there?
We should get an apartment together. I love you, man.
We're gonna quit our jobs and just do this 24 hours a day, just talking about what it was, just one Korn song at a time. But each episode is at least 3 hours long.
I cannot wait to hear that death growl back. That is probably the gnarliest thing I've ever done.
The whole thing was fantastic. Have you done talking about the Korn album? The first Korn album?
Yes, I am. Oh yeah, shit. We're still gonna talk about your number one. Yeah,
my number one album is Issues. Good night, everybody.
Nice.
1999 album, Issues. I thought about this a lot because I love this album, and I went back and forth on my ranking for the top four, where they went. You know, what album is important, what album is killer all the way through, different angles to look at everything. And then I finally, like the last time listening through Issues, I was thinking to myself, you know what? This is like probably the most refined and perfected Korn album of the classic era.
Yeah.
To the point where if somebody had never heard Korn before, and I was truly trying to get them into Korn, Issues is absolutely the number one album that I would play for them. And then I would say, if you're into this, then go just do the debut or whatever, you know, because then you can get like the earlier, rawer stuff with the crazier vocals. But Issues is like, all the songs are so well written. It feels like a cohesive album because of the interludes. It kind of brings you in and out of the songs. And I just think that all of the songs are just absolutely killer on this album.
Yeah.
Along with having some absolute classics on it at the same time. And it's crazy to me that, like, I was thinking, because like I got this album when it came out, and when they put it out, it had like 4 different album covers. My dogs are freaking out. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
They had 4 different album covers. Like, there was a contest to get album covers, and then the one that you see finally is the winner of the contest. But they put out at least 4 different cover versions. But I remember buying the album because at that point I was a Korn fan, and just being blown away by how good it sounded and how great the songs were. I had no clue till years later, until I read about it, that it ended up being the number one album in America. And it not only did it do that, it going to number one prevented Dr. Dre and Celine Dion from being number one. Korn was number one over Dr. Dre and Celine Dion around this time in 1999. So the two of them didn't get number one albums because of Korn. Like
that, looking back to think of where they were at, like Celine Dion, obviously, my heart will go on.
I think this is post-Titanic. There's 99 post-Titanic. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, not 99, couple years after Titanic. And Dr. Dre, I mean, holy shit, like The Chronic 2001.
Yep, I think that would have been the album.
Yeah, because that was 99. So God, you're talking, fuck, man, that album was huge.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But that's the thing that like, especially when you look at things today, because we're talking about top albums, period. So clearly, like Dr. Dre topped the hip hop albums or whatever the chart was. He did very well for himself. But Korn wasn't just number one on like the hard rock charts. It was number one album, period. And
insane.
And it just blows me away because now, we're almost 25 years later from this album coming out. And if a rock album even gets in the top 20, I'm just like, holy shit, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And so it's pretty amazing that they were that big. And still, when you listen to Issues, it's still not like they went, mainstream with this album. It's a little more melodic, less weird vocals on it or whatever, but still heavy, subject matter. Still a lot of fucking heavy riffs. It's a metal album, it's no matter how you look at it. And just like, that's pretty fucking cool. I mean, there's been a handful of like heavy albums that went number one. But I don't even know what the last one was. The last actual heavy rock album that went number one across the country here. But
I'm thinking if it's going to be anyone, it's got to be like Slipknot or Avenged.
Linkin Park maybe, or somebody like that.
Linkin Park is probably the one.
Yeah, but it's just a reminder of like, like I have no problem with hip hop being the most popular music in the world because it, started from the streets, basically nothing, and built up, its own fan base. It never, it just became. I think it deserves it at this point.
Yeah.
But I do have to say that I do, I miss the times when like, just one or two rock albums be up there in the top of the charts. But Issues was one of them, and I think totally deserves it. And I think I like the album more now than I did even then, because it's one of those albums that I return to it, and every song, even later on in the album, sometimes it's just a riff that I'll hear and I go, oh, this is on this album too? Shit, man. There's so much good shit on this album. So I put Issues at number one for all those reasons, but the biggest one for me is the fact that it's an absolute solid album from beginning to end, and I think it's the best example of Korn for anybody. Like, listen to Issues. If you're not into Korn, listen to Issues. If you're not into them after that, I don't really think that they're going to be for you. But I don't know. But yeah, that's my number. My number. Let's get rid of those notes for my number one Korn album, which is Issues. I'm sure a lot of people disagree with that. I think more people are into Issues now than they were, but I think for a while it wasn't looked at like it was a great album. But I think it is their best.
Time has been very kind to it. Yeah,
I agree. And time's been very kind to you all out there, because this has been a 2-hour episode where we wrapped up Korn and gave you way more than your money's worth, which was nothing. Your time's very important because you can't get that back. So thank you for spending it with us. But before we go, as usual, we got to do this whenever we wrap up a band. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yeah! We did.
Sorry, that was a bit more Mike Patton-y than Jonathan Davis, but yeah, still felt good.
Just when you thought it was over, just when you thought it was done.
Yeah, we did it again.
All right, well that was Korn, and a lot, that was fun. That was a fun episode.
Hell yeah, it was.
Hell yeah, brother.
Thank you all for watching all the peanut butter platypuses. Hello to all of you. Put your comments down below in the video. If this is a podcast, hello. Send me an email. I don't know. Or don't.
Send me sexy letters.
Thank you, Gene. So yeah, that's we don't. There's no need to drag this out anymore. This is a 2-hour packed episode of awesomeness. And next time you see us, we'll be doing another band discography from I mean, they were both going around the same time when Korn started. This band was still going,
Yeah.
and they're still going today. I don't know if I don't know of a good hint, but you better have your big guns ready. That's all I'm gonna say.
Or your life will hit the skids.
Yeah, it could, and hopefully you're not a slave to the grind. All right, no more of this monkey business. We got to get out of here.
No more subhuman behavior.
Time to get the fuck out. All right, say hello to your sweet little sister for me.
Yeah, we're done with this monkey business.
I already did that. Can't double dip. All right. That'll be next time. Whenever we come back, we
better get out of here before the clock strikes midnight.
I have a feeling that one will be fun too. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for listening or watching to this Korn extravaganza. And as usual, I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
Dude! Boy! Something say boy! Yeah, I'm done.
Awesome.
Good. That was enough. I got out while I could.
That'll
Can't
do.
go too far. Yeah.
You'll end up in a cornhole.
Wabba 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 woo woo woo. Wabba 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 do doodly doo. Wabba 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 woo woo woo. Wabba 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 do doodly doo. Wabba 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 woo woo woo. Wabba 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 do doodly doo. Wabba 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 woo woo woo. Wabba 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 do doodly doo. Absolute fucking banger.